Those of you who do project planning know that project planning used to mean opening a blank Excel spreadsheet and spending the next hour creating columns, calculating dates, formatting tables, and eventually building a Gantt chart so that you could show the project plan visually to other stakeholders. I have good news. Today, Copilot can help you do most of the heavy lifting. When I'm planning a training rollout or an instructional design project that I'm working on, I use Copilot to help me turn a very simple task into a polished project plan in just minutes. I'm Jennifer. I'm from the Freelance Shift. Thanks for joining me today. I help freelancers and solopreneurs learn skills that are going to help them save time and inevitably earn more money. If that sounds helpful to you, please subscribe. Join us again. Okay, so this is the process that I use to create this plan. Now, I start with a simple task list. Nothing complicated, but something pretty basic in Excel that has columns that include things like a task name, the owner, the start and end date, the duration, the status, the current status of that item, and then any dependencies. So that's it. It's just a clean table that lays out what the current plan overall is. Now, where the magic really happens is once you bring Copilot into the conversation. So the first thing that you can do if you have a list as the one that I mentioned is you can ask Copilot to organize the tasks into a logical project timeline. You can ask it to identify the dependencies, suggest any missing tasks, and make recommendations to improve the schedule. I really appreciate the recommendations that Copilot has come up with. It's sort of like running my plan in the early stages by someone who's going to point out any potential gaps or holes. That way, it's done before I bring it forward to the client. I've found that Copilot does often catch those gaps, such as missing review cycles, in my case, or stakeholder approvals, or even a testing phase. Now, the next step is where the magic really happens, where you can ask Copilot to build a Gantt chart for you. So I know that prior to Copilot, I sometimes struggled with the creation of this Gantt chart, and I did create them, but much more manually than I probably had to. Now, thanks to Copilot, you can simply ask Copilot within Excel to create a Gantt chart for the project table using the start date and duration columns. And then you can format it so that it's easy to present to stakeholders. Within seconds, Copilot will generate the chart and apply much of the formatting automatically. Now, there are times that I have to go in and I ask it to revise the look of the chart because I just want a small modification. Like maybe I want the dates presented in a vertical format rather than a horizontal format because I want things spaced out a little bit better. But in those cases, I simply enter those prompts into Copilot and ask, and it does it for me in a very quick turnaround. So it's not a big deal. Now, I love this because you don't have to deal with any formulas or tutorials or frustration because it's not coming out the way that you want. You have a partner who's basically an expert at creating Gantt charts for you. And this allows you to look really professional to your clients because you have this nice visual that really breaks down each step of the process for them. That just helps in so many ways because it provides clarity to everyone that's involved. Now, what happens if changes occur later? Right? We know that projects rarely go exactly as planned. That's no problem. It's not going to take you hours to adjust this. You're simply going to open up this file again and ask Copilot to update the project timeline by moving all the remaining tasks back a week while preserving the task dependencies. Or you could ask it to highlight tasks that overlap or resource conflicts. Or you could ask it to move everything by a month. It really is going to accommodate whatever request you need to make. And in this case, that means Copilot is much more than a Gantt chart builder. It's part of your project planning and basically becomes your assistant. So at this point, you sort of are ready to go, but if you'd like to be extra conscientious, you can probably do one more thing. And that's asking Copilot to summarize your schedule. So yeah, you probably know the schedule and you could explain it well, but what if this is a project that you're sort of tangential on, or there have been a lot of changes and you want to make sure that you accurately depict those changes when speaking to the client? Well, then I'd recommend asking Copilot to write an executive summary of the project plan. You can ask it to include major milestones, risks, and expected completion date. Because then you'll have a professional visual timeline along with a concise status update ready for you when you meet with your stakeholder. And what's better than that, right? Now, just as a quick summary of the steps that we went through so that it's crystal clear for you and that you can get right out and start applying these yourself. First, one is when creating a project plan, I'll ask it to build a project schedule from a certain task list, suggest realistic dates, dependencies, and milestones. And then I ask it, as I mentioned, to create the Gantt chart. I'll just say create a Gantt chart using the start date and duration columns, format it for an executive presentation. Then I'll ask it to identify the risks, review this project plan and identify schedule risks, resource conflicts, and bottlenecks. Then I'll ask it to improve the schedule, recommend ways to shorten the overall project duration without sacrificing quality. And finally, I'll use it as part of my weekly status report. I can ask it to summarize project progress based on the status column. I can highlight any completed work, upcoming milestones, and potential risks. So this Copilot partnership that I've established is going to keep helping me throughout this project. Now, why does that all matter? Well, it's because Copilot, while it isn't replacing the project management expertise that you have, that's still 100% necessary. It's going to remove the repetitive work for you so that you can focus on the decisions that matter. That's where you're going to save time and inevitably earn more money. Because instead of spending an hour formatting a spreadsheet, you can spend that hour evaluating risks, aligning stakeholders, or improving the plan itself. And that is going to allow you to convey that wow factor to your client of how well this project is being managed. Because that's the real value of the AI. Less time building documents and more time leading projects. So if you've never tried using Copilot inside Excel for project planning, I encourage you to give it a try. You'll likely be surprised at how quickly a blank spreadsheet becomes a professional looking project plan, complete with that Gantt chart. I have some other tips for you down below in the comments, some other videos for you to check out on how to increase your efficiencies. And we've also started a Facebook group that I'll link down below, completely free, but just a community where we can share these tips with each other. I hope to see you there.